Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Today, tonight, and all points in between, we come to you usually in a joyful, fun time. And we like to have a good time on this show, and there'll be lots of good times to be had. But we have to address the passing of one of the pillars of the National Wrestling Alliance through the lean years, through the Tharp era, through the Lightning One era. Today, we lost a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion in Jack Stane. I personally have always called Jack Stane one of the best friends to the show. Jax came on early in his time with the NWA to promote what he was doing at the National Wrestling Alliance when he was feuding with Tim Storm over the national championship. Jax was a good guy in and out of the ring. And even though he had this larger-than-life persona, they called him Vanilla Godzilla. He was one of the sweetest human beings that you'd be lucky to meet. And to give you a little insight into JCal in 2016, it was a really rough year for me personally. And I found myself at a crossroads in my marriage where my wife and I almost got divorced. And I was posting a lot of personal stuff on Facebook, and that's not something I do these days, but I did then. And no solicitation, Jax reached out to me. And it wasn't the first time he'd reached out to me. But he listened to me. We actually talked on the phone that day. And one of the things he said to me is, don't give up. He told me the story about him and his wife and the problems that they had and how they were able to reconcile and get back on the road. And he said, like, look, you're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. Just try to keep your head up. Try to be positive. And it's wild because, my marriage is still intact. I'm still married, thankfully. And some of the advice he gave me was hit the spot. But one of the things that he posted, and I even think he had it tattooed on his body, was the problem is you think there's time. It's kind of an interpretation of the beliefs of Buddha, but the problem is you think there's time, and there isn't. One of the things that I've witnessed from Jack's passing is that there isn't time. Because even though we were in Forney, Texas, and I told that dude how much I loved that guy and how great I thought he was, there wasn't enough time. And we lost Jack Stane at a very young age. Guy wasn't even 50. And he meant the world to a lot of people. And I'm sure you guys have seen the outpour of emotion, the outpour from the internet wrestling community, not just NWA wrestlers, but wrestlers across the platform. People who are with the company still, people who are gone. And not a negative thing is to be said about Jack Stane. One time when he lost the world title to Tim Storm, and he was essentially done with the NWA, we were still pretty good. Him and I still chit-chatted from time to time. And I ran a piece where I kind of, maybe I overshared, and something that should have been off the record, I put on the record. And he messaged me and he said, hey, I didn't appreciate that. And I was like, oh, shit. I just pissed off Jack Stane, and I apologize. And he's like, I'm not mad. It's just that was off the record. So, I did a rebuttal, and I took it down, the article down, not because I said something that was inaccurate, but because I had misquoted the champ, and I didn't feel good about that. Anyways, Um, Never made me feel bad for it. And it's funny, the first time I actually got to meet Jax in person was at the 70th anniversary show. And, we brought the 10 pounds of gold. And Jax came up to me excited. Excited to sign this belt. Excited to put his name on this title. And when he did it, he didn't do it because he felt like it was a chore. He didn't do it because he had to. He was excited about it. And that's just the kind of guy he was. And I appreciate Jax Dane for what he did for the NWA. I appreciate Jax Dane for what he did for me personally. And I think he'd been on the show like 3 times. He was a good dude. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for his wife and his son, his stepson, Sid's son, his niece, because now they live in a world without Jax Dane. And the world doesn't seem as bright today as it did yesterday. But we will take a moment of silence here. Rest in peace, Jax. You deserve it, buddy. And we'll be back in just a second. All right. We are the Alliance guys in full effect tonight. You might see some familiar faces you haven't seen in quite some time. Let me reintroduce you to the crew. Of course, there's Tim. You might know him as Alliance Gold on social media. Championship Wrestling with Jeremy. Scoob Dog, Dave Scooby. And of course, DKM. We're missing one of the Alliance guys, but, I don't think he'd be on here anyways right now. Obviously, Jax Dane was a great champion, a great man. If you guys have anything you'd like to add about Jax, I'm sure that would be a good time to say it.
Yeah, I only saw Jax wrestle once, Jay, and like live, I mean, and that was when you and Scooby and I, anyway, were at 75, and he had that very short start of a match with Tim Storm, and Tim got hurt, and it looked like, to those of us sitting right there at ringside, something had gone terribly wrong, and Tim got let out, and we all clapped. The thing I honestly remember the most from that, just speaking to not knowing Jax Dane, Jeremy Lyman, is how he looked in the ring. I think it's just kind of like what you said. It's more important, really, in a way, to speak to the kind of the human being that everyone was speaking to, who he was and how he looked like. If have I hurt this man? Has something gone terribly wrong? And I honestly, at this point, don't know if it was a shoot or a work, but I still got the impression at that time that he really thought something had gone terribly wrong, and I just felt the world, for him in that moment, as well as Tim. And other than that, I mean, in the ring, that guy was legit. He was, when Danny Deals brought him back and just came onto the set. You guys remember that with, here's the guy he took the national title from, Tim Storm, right? He took the world title from. It's Godzilla Jax Dane, baby, and we just were, oh my god! He looked legit. He was legit in the ring. He was wonderful to watch. That's what I'll take away from Jax Dane's career. We're definitely going to miss him.
I got introduced to Jax Dane through Corrigan's iteration of the NWA. I never had the honor of meeting the man. Probably one of the most intense individuals that I ever saw inside the ring. And from everything that I heard, probably one of the sweetest people outside of it, one of the most considerate and nicest. Um, like Jake House said, there's been an outpouring of support from all corners of the wrestling sphere online. Uh, the wrestling world had a big loss today, yesterday. It's yeah.
I think maybe out of all of us, DK has probably seen Jax wrestle the most. I mean, he spent a lot of time in Texas. DK, you got to see him defend the 10 pounds of gold. You got to see him wrestle uh, quite regularly in that great state of Texas. You have some memories that you'd like to share?
Uh, yeah, I'll try to. I'll try to get through it. I posted on Facebook. I go, the one thing about Jax is he never treated me as a fan. Jax always treated me as a friend. From the time I first met him, which was online, I think I was the one that was asking him to come join the podcast. And I remember I first heard of him when he and Raymond Rowe, currently Eric of the
Viking experience.
War Raiders, I think, sir. Current no, or War. What is War Raiders? I think is what they're currently going by.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, currently won half the World Tag Team Championships on Raw, and but he and Jax were actually a team, half the Resistance or something like that.
Yep.
In Houston, or Tony Brooklyn, Chris Ronquillo's NWA Lone Star. And then they went single, and we talked. And I saw him wrestle several times. He wrestled up here in Dallas-Fort Worth area for IHWE. I actually drove with my family to San Antonio the night he won the title. And it was, despite what some people thought of my insider thing, I didn't know for sure he was going to win the title, but I had a pretty good clue, like most people, and I wanted to be there and I wanted to see that. And we talked that night, and we talked almost at every show that he was at. And I got to see him. He was just he was a positive person to talk to. He was somebody you wanted to hang around with. I remember kind of when I got in a debate one time with another couple of promoters here in Texas, he suddenly came to my defense in the thing. Basically told them, don't talk negative about him. He's done more wrestling in this state than some of you have. And, last time I was able to talk to him was just briefly in Forney. But he was a good man for every experience I had with him. I just can't. I'm 56 years old and he was 48. He worked out. I'm kind of fat and out of shape. Sometimes things in this world don't seem fair. And this is just one of those moments that, it hits hard for me. It's like, why him?
Yeah. That's something that I struggled with the entire way home from work today was why him? And I'm sure you guys could attest to this. There's a lot of assholes in the wrestling business. I mean, like you could throw a rock and hit an asshole in wrestling. It's very rare to find a good guy, a genuine, real good guy, and that was Jax. and it doesn't seem fair, and I'm not wishing death on anybody. Please don't take it the wrong way. But there's plenty of people that I wouldn't miss. But I'm gonna miss Jax, and I think wrestling is gonna miss Jax. Scooby, you have anything you'd like to add, brother?
Well, I mean, Jax was a man among men, bigger than life, and whether he was healing it up, I mean, he was a great guy. He, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. I met him only a couple times, and I'm not going to say that, oh, I knew him, but I looked up to him literally and figuratively. That, I mean, he played the part, but when Jax Dane was just himself and not in the ring, he was, like I said, a man among men. He was very gentle when I saw him dealing with people in the crowd at signings. And I mean, he could play the heel, but he never was a heel. So I mean, it's going to be a very big loss for the NWA. And while he was very big in the NWA, I wish he would have been able to get a bigger stage so more people could have seen him. But now his legacy will be there. People will have to look back on him and just, I mean, he was what he was. He was Godzilla. He was the Dane event. Whatever he needed to do to and be relevant in wrestling, he did, even if it wasn't on the biggest stage available. He did what needed to be done, whether it was for him or his opponent. And being at 75 when Tim injured himself and that happened, you could see the concern in his eyes that he snapped out of being, quote unquote, the wrestling character, and he was human. And that's one of the things that every time I saw him wrestle, and in the early days, I saw him wrestle at quite a few different events. He always gave 110%. And I mean, he's going to be sorely missed.
I have two more things I'd like to say before we move on. And I say that knowing that this is going to hang in the air for us for a while. It's not letting it go, but it's moving forward. I don't think Jax would want us all here crying about his passing. That's not the kind of guy he was. Still going to do it. I don't care. But, when I first became aware of Jackson, again, that was DKM pushing us to interview him and getting him on. The pipeline from Texas always went through DKM to the Alliance guys. And we had spoken on the podcast, and out of the blue, one time he messaged me, and this was in 2013. Again, I wasn't pushing a Jax Dane narrative. I wasn't on his bandwagon at the time. And he was just like, I really like seeing you post about your family. And it just meant a lot to me. One of the things I saw that he wrote, and it's kind of ironic that back in October of 2020, he wrote about the passing of Tracy Smothers. And it's almost like someone could have wrote this about him. But I'm going to just read verbatim what he said. Tracy Smothers was one of the kindest human beings I've ever met in any walk of life. When he talked to you, he looked at you. He listened to you. He heard you. He made you feel at that very moment the only thing that mattered was the time he was spending with you, without distraction, without interruption. He made you feel special. He was always encouraging, always willing to help. He wanted the best for everyone. Hey, Jax, when are you going to start lifting? Every time he saw Jack Stain. The last time I saw him was at the Bobby Eaton tribute show. We sat on the ground in the crowd and watched the Heat Seekers and made jokes about Sigmund and Elliott. He loved those guys. He was sick then, but unwavering with his kindness. I'm glad that was my last 30 to 45 minutes with him. He was one of the good ones. Professional wrestling is losing its heroes one by one. We should do more celebrating to those that deserve it while we can. The trouble is, you think you have time. Rest well, Tracy. You think you have time. The last thing I want to say is Jax and I, like I said, we weren't best friends. He's somebody that I had a shit ton of respect for. Somebody that I felt made the NWA better. And over the last few weeks, months, anytime you hear me bitching and moaning about the booking in the NWA, it was always simple. Just start pushing Jack Stain. That would solve the problem. Back in May, DK and I met up to be at the Crockett Cup. And after the show, we were trading messages back and forth. Obviously, he had places to go, and I was ready to go home. It was a long day. He said, unsolicited, he messaged me, great seeing you. It was a nice surprise. I go, yeah, man, was hoping to see you in the ring. I'll be at 76 too. He said, great, I appreciate the compliments too. I've been working hard. He said, you look like a world champion. I said, thanks, I'm motivated again. Been a little down and unmotivated, so I really appreciate that. And I said, it happens to everyone, but you look great. The hard work is paying off. And he said, he thanked me. And that's the last time I spoke to him. And God damn it, that guy deserves all the flowers in the world. And again, this isn't me not attacking the NWA right now, but that guy should have been the world champion multiple times. That guy should have been in front of that brand carrying it. And I don't know what the NWA now looks like without Jack Stain. Let's be honest, he wasn't in a main event title picture. I don't know if his storyline with Baron Von Storm will even continue now. But it is a sad, sad loss for the NWA. And it's a sad, sad loss for us, the fans of wrestling. And hopefully tomorrow will be better. So, with that being said, what do you guys want to talk about? Not a great segue, huh? So, look, we initially had planned to have a fun topic tonight, a fun talk tonight. Of course, the other Alliance guys are here for a specific reason, and that's because, well, not only are they family, but we kind of have some exciting news. And, I could use a pick-me-up. So, Scooby, Jeremy, Tim, what do you guys? Tell me what's going on.
If I may, gentlemen, I'll pitch it to you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and what can we tell you? We are the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance and various independents around the world. My name's Tim, you know Scooby, you know Jeremy, and we are coming back. Things are a bit different this time around. We're doing something different, but we will be coming as of January, next week actually, Sunday nights at 6:30. Coming out on YouTube, and we got a whole new plan. But I'm going to pitch it to you, Scoob. I know you are time bound right now, so I don't know. You want to tell them a little bit about it? You want to just say hi? Just the greatest 6-man tag team in podcasting, I guess, past the original Alliance guys. Guys are back. The fabulous Freebirds of the Alliance, baby. We are here. This feels so weird right off the back of the Jack Stain news, but here we are. Over to you. Oh, no. What is this? What do you say, Scoop? Good to see you, buddy.
Good seeing you guys. We are back. We're going to be doing things a little different. to be touching on bits and pieces of pro wrestling, not just the NWA, but pro wrestling, discussions back and forth, maybe even some fantasy booking, but not current fantasy booking, fantasy rebooking, how things could have been back in the day. So right now, we're back and we want you to be involved as well. So if you have any suggestions, hit us up online. We're on Twitter/X, the Other Alliance Guys, at the Other Alliance Guys. So give us some ideas of what you as an audience, you as fans would like to discuss, and we'll see if it works into what we have going. Sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't, but we're always willing to give it a shot. So I'm looking forward to being back with you guys. I really missed you guys. I've been supporting Jay and the other Alliance guys, DKM and Jaden, as much as possible, but it feels good to be back with you guys.
Yeah.
You too, buddy.
Jeremy, how you doing, bud?
I got shiny new motherfucking teeth. I'm sitting back down with my fucking bestest wrestling buddies. I'm beside myself right now. This is it. It's kind of like a tattoo. Once you do a podcast, you get an itch, and you after you haven't done one for a minute, you get that itch, and you gotta fulfill it. And the only way to do that is to go get another tattoo. Well, the only way to fulfill a podcast itch is to just do another fucking podcast. So we're back, motherfuckers. You're welcome.
We do have focus beyond the different ideas that Dave has mentioned as well. Yes. And it's going to be different because, well, I know for me, since I posted that video last February where I said so long to the NWA and everything else, you know, I haven't watched any NWA programming, and I don't think Jeremy has either. And I think Dave, you'd mentioned quite a while ago, you kind of moved on because, you know, there's the whole booking situation going on over there. But J-Cal has given us the green light to start and kind of manage forward on our little program the the Alliance Wrestling Hall of Fame, and it's going to be NWA, UWN, Indie, Alliance centric. So we're going to be creating a Hall of Fame around Alliance Wrestling with rules about getting in. We're going to be putting up different sections like modern and singles and tag teams, promoters and women and movers and shakers, maybe Japan and Mexico. We're going to figure it all out. We're going to get J-Cal's blessing. And we are, yeah, there you go. And we're going to be pitching names every week. So largely, these two fine gentlemen you see here, Mr. Scooby and CWFJ, are going to be taking polar opposite positions for and against the names that we pitch forth to you every week for the Alliance Wrestling Hall of Fame. As a random example, I think I said this to you, Jay, with Jeremiah Plunkett. We love Jeremiah Plunkett. Jeremiah Plunkett's awesome. Would Jeremiah Plunkett get into the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame? I don't know. Is he going to get into the Alliance Wrestling Hall of Fame? Let's have that discussion. Jay's like, ooh.
So they're like, look, we're not going there now. That's for you guys to discuss. But I got a lot of pro for JP, man. That's
well, listen, we all do, and that's so we're going to be putting those names up, and we're going to be voting over the following week. We're going to let you guys vote on social media. You guys will decide if they get in or if they don't. Matthew says Dave Marquez, first ballot. There you go. So it's going to be fun, and that's going to be something that we do for, hopefully it'll be like an hour and a half kind of idea, which for us generally means 3 hours if history is. But Sunday nights and 6:30, and we hope you guys will join us, and we look forward to getting back into it.
Is that 6:30 Eastern?
6:30 Eastern. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we're Jeremy, you'll be what? That'll be 4:30 for you.
Yeah, 4:30 in the afternoon for me. Yep.
Yeah. Excellent.
I'll still have sunlight out.
I look forward to hanging out with you guys again, and everybody in the chat. I see a lot of names there that I haven't talked to in almost a year now, and I'm really excited about coming back.
Yeah, I think that's one of the questions that we would get asked a lot is like when are the other Lions guys coming back? And I felt really bad there because towards the end, for obvious reasons, Tim stepped aside, and it just things weren't working out under the way we had wanted it to continue. So I'm glad that we spent some time, you guys spent some time away and kind of came up with a new plan to go forward, because obviously it's one of the most fun we have here is the content. This is a community. Yeah, we all have microphones and we all get to talk into them, but you guys are a part of this community as well, and it's just about servicing this community of great NWA fans. And honestly, it's not just the NWA. It's MLW. It's United Wrestling Network. From time to time, it's TNA Wrestling. It's Ring of Honor. It's AEW. Hell, we even talk WWE from time to time. So, these guys have my blessing to do whatever they want for the 1 to 3 hours that they'll be on Sundays. And I'm just glad you guys are back. So welcome.
Well, we're glad that you finally agreed to our contractual demands after all of this time. I mean, Jeremy got tired of picking those green M&Ms out of the bowl every week. The green.
I swear, if I see a green M&M, I'm fucking out the door.
I thought that's why we got all those Jack Daniel bottles emptied and filled up with the brown M&Ms. I mean, I did a lot of drinking over the holiday. Come on, don't make that be for nothing.
Yeah, now not brought to you by Gatorade Zero, because Debbie don't pay.
Debbie don't pay me. Sometimes. Cool. So, do you guys want to hang out for a bit? Dave, I think you might have to bail soon, but you're welcome to stay. You guys are all welcome to hang out for as long as you want. We'll be here till at least 7 on the west. I guess that's 9 o'clock on the east. No, 10 o'clock on the east. You guys are welcome to hang out for as long as you like. And James H. Jackson says the other Alliance guys unionized. Now they're back. Fuck.
Power to the people.
Yeah, no more you. Yeah.
That's my line.
That's DK's line. Well, I finally agreed to pay everyone the same amount for the show, which is nothing. So that's good. All right. So first things first, we got a couple of shows coming up. Events. No, I guess we could call them shows or NWA events. First and foremost, the NWA is returning to Forney, Texas. That is where they had the Crockett Cup this year. And one of the matches that seems to be very interesting to me is essentially I feel like it's Billy Corgan admitting that he has done a shit job of booking the world title, because they're planning to have a tournament to determine a number one contender for the 10 pounds of gold, because they didn't do a good enough job telling the stories of building up a top 10 category. No names have been entered into the tournament just yet, but I have to ask, I know you're not huge NWA viewers at this point, but Tim, Jeremy, Scoop, what do you see about this tournament? What do you think about it? DK, you're included too.
Tournaments seem to be tournaments seem to be the new thing now. Not that they're new, but they seem to be how the business is kind of steering at the moment. Let's run with the tournament for this. Let's run with the tournament for that. Really all depends on how you stack it. It for me, if you put too many in there that are just lopsided, and I can tell from the beginning, then I check out immediately, and I'm not interested anymore. That's been Billy's trouble in the past. Is a lot of his tournament booking has been lopsided.
I'm with Jeremy on that one. Like if you look wherever, like 1 and 2, you can usually in tournaments kind of pick out who's going to end up in the finals. Doesn't mean you won't get some good matches along the way. Good surprise always is nice to see. I feel like AEW's kind of made tournaments their thing. Lazy booking. I'm a fan of tournaments when they are far and few between and they mean something. A tournament to book a number 1 contender to the world title doesn't interest me. If it was a 8-man tournament for the world's title, that might get my attention, but not for a number 1 contender.
Yeah.
Scooby, what do you think?
I mean, exactly. I mean, ideally, in my mind, I'm thinking if you're going to open it up and have all these different people, whether they're in the NWA or not, if you get Royce Isaac back, have a meeting of Wildcards again, I would love to see that. It puts Tom over. Tom really hasn't had that strong of a run. He's had a good run, but not a strong run, in that they didn't think ahead. They didn't have people prepped as, oh, here's your first contender, here's your second contender. They should have had at least and give him credibility.
Scoob, I think we're losing your brother. Scooby, I think we lost you. While we're waiting, DK, do you want to jump in on that?
Jump in on
The tournament?
a tournament or the number 1 contender. I mean, I don't think the NWA necessarily overdoes tournaments, but wrestling kind of overdoes tournaments, and so at least it's not a round robin. Hey, this is only good if somebody new comes out as the number 1 contender, and by new I mean not EC3. And so, if this gives a chance to put it, they also need to be serious. So, like, it can't be, Max, which somebody on Discord wanted Max in the tournament, and luckily Jay has not granted me powers to ban people from Discord, because I probably would have. Just, hopefully they'll get some of the territory guys involved. Oh, because the sad thing is, if you just list NWA guys, it's not that exciting. My personal pick, because they already have something going on with the 8th seed, it's going to be Sam Adonis, or, who I don't want, Colby Carino, who's too small, or Tyler Franks, who I'm not sure I know who that is, and for the number 8 seed. And so then they're asking us, like, our opinions on the rest of them. So just to read mine off real quick, I had EC3 as 1, Silas Mason as 2, our Throwbilly friend. Mims as 3, because he's the national champion. It seems like he should be, but he probably won't be because I'll probably put him in a tournament. I put Jeremiah Plunkett in as 4. Pretty Boy Smooth from Exodus Pro, the 6-head. He's in at 5. And I put Bam Bam Malone, who would be the local guy. And I think he's the Texas Style Wrestling champion. And then I had Carson Drake at 7, but now they say he's going to be defending his title. So I don't know who I'd have a 7 anymore. But, you know, if somebody, you know, like I said, new, I don't mean new to the NWA, but new as to being like a top challenger to the title, you know, like Thrillbilly. If they got somebody like that, and then they put in like, you know, serious feud with somebody like Thrillbilly, and then actually did a series of matches that made you want to see more, you know, between Latimer and Thrillbilly. Not that I have a preference as to who wins the tournament, but that type of situation, it would be good. Now, that goes back to do I have any faith in Billy to do any of this correctly?
Nope.
And the answer is no. So,
your dog was rolling over on the bed.
No, yeah. Even the dog knows not to have too much faith in it. So, but you know, I am excited that Money Birds are going to be there because I have absolutely positively no idea who they are. But they're making their debut, and apparently I should be excited about it. And apparently they wrestle for Reality of Wrestling down in Houston, but I don't know who they are, and I don't care. And
well, wait, let's go back to the tournament real quick because I'll talk more about the matches, but I didn't get to say anything about the tournament myself.
Well, I was trying to avoid that, but okay, go ahead.
Let me take a deep breath because I'm a little long-winded. Okay, so the first thing that I see with this is obviously, like I said earlier, the NWA did not do a good job of building up opponents for Tom Latimer. And although it seems like it's kind of hard to determine what they're going to do with EC3 and Tom Latimer because obviously that is not a finished story. We're going to have that match at Saw Win next week on the New Year's Eve special of the NWA. And then we don't know this for any certainty, but I believe that was the match for Looks That Kill as well. So I would find it a bad decision to run that match for a third signature live event, considering that they've done it for the last 2. So if they are crowning a new number 1 contender, like Tim said, I feel like that could be a little bit boring because of the fact that, okay, so you're building up a guy just to challenge for Tom or EC3, whoever's champion at that time. And more than likely that person's going to be cannon fodder for whoever the champion is anyways. But I do see, like, if they were creative about it, if they did take guys from the territories, we do know that PB Smooth is going to be in action. In fact, I don't know when the NWA booked this match, but you know, they had booked PB Smooth versus Baron Von Storm for the Exodus Pro Championship with EC3 in PB Smooth's corner. So I don't see him being a part of the tournament. I would also venture to guess that Carson Drake shouldn't be involved. I wouldn't put Mims involved, but I think this tournament would be something, knowing Billy, we're going to get Zion, and we're going to get Paul Burchill, and we're going to get Mike Mondo, and we're going to get Sam Stackhouse, and going to get a bunch of guys who haven't really put a fingerprint on the NWA but have been here for more than a minute. I wouldn't be surprised if we get Kerry Morton and Silas Mason in this Rumble or this tournament. In all honesty, I don't know that any of them are going to really be a credible threat to take the title off of Tom Latimer. With all that being said, I would love for Silas Mason to win this tournament and go on and wrestle for the 10 pounds of gold one more time. I just don't foresee it happening. Some of the other, real quick, I want to go to what the chat's saying. No, Sam Retro says Sam Madonna sucks. James H. Jackson says, and please no Matt Cardona either. I saw earlier someone said, I think it was Overmetal. He said Richard Holiday. He called him Dick Holiday. Let's see. Overmetal says Thrill has been next in line as the tea leaves have shown for a year. He mentions the 10 pounds of gold in promos. He has been eyeing it for a while. Sam Retro says he doesn't like EC3 and PB Smooth's corner. Kerry and Tom had a time limit draw last spring for the Natty. Yeah, so I mean, there's different guys that they could use. There's obviously, but I feel like Billy likes to go back to, what he does, and it's usually just screwing up something good in the first place. Other matches that are scheduled for this, of course, the TV title will be on the line when Carson Bartholomew Drake defends against Alex Misery. That's not a match that has overwhelmingly a lot of fanfare to. As DK mentioned, we'll see the NWA debut of the Moneybirds. We also will see CJ returning to the NWA as she teams with Misty Marks. This one, the U.S. It's a non-title match. Sam Stackhouse and Eric Smalls versus the Country Gentlemen.
Wow.
Wow is right. We also have a mixed tag match with Natalia Markova with Brian Idol, who has been injured, taking on Hunter, formerly known as Hunter Drake, the beau of Kylie Page. And
Why?
actually, no, I think she was the
Why?
boyfriend of Kenzie Page. No? I don't know.
What?
But it's,
What is that horse shit of a match?
yeah. Yeah.
See, that's why I don't watch your product anymore, Billy.
Preach.
It's so going away for almost a year puts a different perspective, and maybe it does in terms of a critical eye and not watching it every week, but looking at that and seeing by and large the same old names and the same old lousy booking. It's just the only problem, and like we all like Silas Mason. The only problem with that is if you look at the world champions from the Lightning One era, which I guess you could include Tim Storm with, but I'm talking about like Nick Aldis kind of kicks that off, and he's the biggest draw, he's the biggest name, and then there was the Cody took that for a couple of months, right, and got that all in exposure, and Trevor Murdoch had the WWE exposure. Matt Cardona is Zack Ryder or whatever, and just King of the Independents. We don't have to talk about Tyrus again, but Tyrus had WWE exposure and obviously the CNN exposure. These were at least, oh my God.
Hey, I just ate before I hopped on this stream, okay?
EC3, same thing. Tom Latimer, same thing.
Well, I would argue Tom Latimer had the least amount of exposure.
Sure. But out of all of the people still around,
yeah,
probably the one who most fits that particular bill. I don't, having been away from the NWA a year, I'm uneducated on a lot of the new names, but I'm telling you, Silas Mason, as much as I love to watch Silas Mason, is not part of that list of names that have that exposure beyond the NWA. So unless we're going back into an era like Haggis and like the mid 2010s, like where they had to go to Japan just to get names, really, like that's where it ended up. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think he fits that bill. So who else is in the tournament that is?
Well, they haven't really released any of the names.
We haven't announced, but here's the problem. I don't want somebody in that build. And I'd argue that Latimer, although he used the name Brown, I mean, He was in TNA. He was there for a lot of Nick Aldis's run. He was involved with Nick Aldis, a good bit. So if you knew Nick Aldis, you probably knew Tom Latimer.
Right.
So, but, look, you can't keep depending on other people.
No.
You can't keep depending on, who's no longer in WWE, who's no longer in AEW, and who cares who's in TNA.
Just for clarity, I'm not arguing that they should, but that's traditionally in the Lightning One area what they've done.
Yeah. That is what he does, and I agree with that. But they haven't announced anybody. There's not really anybody in the promotion currently that fits that mold outside of EC3 and whatever. And, it's time for EC3 to take a break.
Well, I echoing what you're both saying, like when you look at that roster, who is that guy? And again, you guys haven't heard me rant and rave in a while, but for the last 3 months I've been talking about wins and losses should matter. Wins and losses should matter. It's simple booking, honestly. You have if we're going to pretend that wrestling is a legitimate competition, then you have to make these talking points real. You have to have a set of rules that all the wrestlers have to adhere to, unless it's a special type of matchup. And the results of these matches need to matter. And you guys haven't been around, so I'll just clue you in. Carson Drake really hadn't beaten anybody of any significance when he got a match for the TV title. Now I get it. The TV title should be a opportunity to showcase some of the younger names. Great. He gets a match with Max the Impaler, who was the men's television champion, and the time limit goes to a draw. The matchup is rematch. They set up a rematch based on the fact that Max didn't pin Carson Bartholomew Drake, and he was gloating about it. Keep in mind, he was running through the whole match. It didn't make any sense because you had that 6:05 time limit. He couldn't get the job done. Now you should move on to the next opponent. No, they ran it back for the pay-per-view, and he ended up winning the title or the Signature Live event. Also, with that being said, like, you got to remember too, at the 76th anniversary show, he was in a match to determine the new national champion and decided to take a money grab to get pinned. So, like, he didn't win that title, and they rewarded him by giving him a TV title match. It doesn't make sense.
No.
Then you look at Mims, and Mims won the title through nefarious means. Then he gets his first title defense, and he defends the title against somebody he already beat to win that title in Burchill. So that didn't make any sense. Mr. Grims was a guy who got a shot at Max the Impaler and the TV title. We only got to meet Mr. Grims at the 76th anniversary show when he came out to save Eric Smalls. I know it sounds crazy. Let's continue. He wrestles Max with no real match to begin with, like no wins or losses. Just his first match, he gets a title shot at Max and loses. Okay, cool. Pad Max's record. Then his next match is against Mims for the national title. Again, what did he fucking do to deserve a title match? 2 title matches. He didn't do shit. And that's the problem with that's the core problem with the NWA booking is the wins and losses don't matter. Billy just throws out a lineup card and starts throwing names at the wall and see what sticks. And because of that, no single wrestler in the NWA has been built up to be a decent challenge for Tom Latimer. Not even EC3. He lost the belt. He should be going through and going from the bottom to the top. Hey, you get one rematch, and then it's to the back of the line. And if he went through and beat everybody and had like 10 victories in a row and said, okay, I beat everybody, let me get my match now. I mean, we're talking about a year from now. And that would be totally justified. They're not going to do that. They're going to fast forward the button. They're going to put him in the top of the line. Maybe with the tournament, maybe a battle royal. Who fucking knows? But it's just shit like that, like you guys said, that turned you off from the product. It turned me off from the product, and I watch it every week. Right.
Right. I could start a new one if you want.
Please.
No, I think I recently posted on my social media accounts. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they load the dishwasher. And it's a very true statement. It has to do with some personal experiences and watching different people load dishwashers. And what is it? Chaotic evil and chaotic neutral and something alignment or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's
alignment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably D&D or something.
It
is. And yeah, you can tell where a person fits on that alignment thing based on how they load dishwasher. One of the things you can tell about Billy, not only in how he books, but just everything, like having commercials on a show that doesn't have commercials and interrupting matches. I don't care that he has fake commercials. I care that he interrupts matches to have the fake commercial. Why is he interrupting matches? Well, because that's what AEW does.
What the fuck?
That's what WWE does.
You guys serious?
Yes. Yeah. Go watch Alex Taylor and Cartwheel dude.
Jack Cartwheel.
They put the match on YouTube. You don't have to watch any further until the fact that they throw to a commercial during the match. And there are no commercials, other than just whatever they're doing. And he's not doing that. He's doing that because he looks out at the wrestling world, and that's what the big boys do. Now, first of all, I hate it when the big boys do it. I'm old, so back in the day, they used to be able to schedule matches so that they fell in between commercial breaks. You know what they never interrupt with commercials? Promos. I've never once seen them, where a guy was doing a promo and they go, "Oh, we'll be back to this after this commercial." No, one of the reasons I can't watch WWE is because they'll put on a match that's not that good and it'll go 7 minutes and 4 minutes will be commercial. And so that's the thing about Billy. He doesn't know how to do wrestling, so he sees all these other things and goes, "Well, that's what we're going to do. We'll look big time if we interrupt our matches with commercials." No, you just look stupid. Stop doing it. And I said a few weeks ago when they were doing the TV taping, stop being schizophrenic. Figure out what your TV tapings are going to be. Are they going to be enhancement matches or are they going to be competitive matches? They should be enhancement with one competitive match, and that should deal with the TV title, either crowning a contender or a TV title match. You got 2 TV titles. We haven't even seen the women's TV champion since she's won the belt.
So I'm sorry. You said fake commercials?
Well, they're NWA type things like coming up or whatever. I don't pay attention to them, so I can't. So when they were on CW, it made a little bit of sense because CW would interrupt for commercials. And then you could sit there and kind of go, well, I sort of see that. But they were doing that before they were on CW, and they've continued it since they got off CW. And it's just...
Okay, and I'll also say that Billy's been biting off of people his entire fucking career. All the Smashing Pumpkins is just pop music Depeche Mode.
Okay, you said it, not me. But I'm not going to argue with you.
Oh, I'll say it. I've never held my tongue when it comes to Billy Corgan and his carniness. That man is born. It is ingrained in his DNA. He is a fucking carny through and through.
That's probably why the wrestling business appealed to him so much.
Hey, but we saw how well that worked with his reality series, right?
Didn't they have the same writers? And never mind.
Did that get canceled? What happened there? You guys know the CW. We don't get them up here in Great White North.
It was a limited run series. Like it might have been planned to be more than what it was.
Yeah.
I know that the crew that was following Billy around was the same crew that I think there was some production company that was involved that also works on the production of WoW, and there was a lot of talks of a cross thing that was never going to happen at all. But yeah, the booking is hasn't improved since you guys left. If anything, it's got worse. And what DK said, like, they crowned a women's champion, and we haven't even seen her on TV since she won it back in August. Or was it September? I don't
remember. But think about this. Think about this. They're running behind on the thing. You know, that used to be they do a TV taping, and like the next Tuesday after they taped will be from that series. Now they do TV tapings, and who knows when we'll see them.
Yeah.
And then they'll put them in between these signature live events, which are become nothing more than TV tapings.
Well, and Jay just announced that we're going to see the main event from the Halloween pay-per-view, PLE, SLE, whatever you want to call it now, on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
Come on,
sure,
man.
Well, come on. They knew because when they did the commentary on the Alex Taylor thing, they said it was Christmas Eve. You know, coming to you on Christmas Eve. So they knew when they're filming this stuff in late October that it wasn't going to be shown to Christmas. So now, and they're out of excuses as to why. They used to whine that, well, you know, CW wants these things weeks in advance, and we need to be able to, you know, send them the show so they can review it and everything. Yeah, you don't have that anymore. And you know, let's be honest, you're probably not going to have that anytime soon. So, you know, now you could at least record a 2.5 hours signature live event and show it all at once if you wanted to.
There's nothing.
Even if you're not going to do a pay-per-view, you could do the signature live event all in one taping, you know, all in one show.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, so we were talking about, you know, they have the next event, which is going to be the show in Forney. We didn't even get to some of the other matches, but the Shockwave, and then they're doing TV tapings in February. Now, here's the kicker, right? Like, just what DK was saying, they literally could do the tapings in February, and that could be like, that's where they start. You know, they could take this live event that's happening in Forney and literally put it on their own YouTube channel. Like, at this point, they're not making pay-per-view money. They're not making, CW money. They're not working with Fightful or Trill or whatever it is. So why not? Why not just put the whole fucking 3 hours on X and let it be digestible for everybody?
And we know the answer. And the answer is because it's perception.
Yep.
Just like the reason they're on X was so that Billy didn't go back to YouTube. He wants to run everything like it's still on. Yeah. He wants to run everything like it's still on CW because then that's what the perception is. Oh, we haven't gone backwards. We haven't stepped, we're moving forward. And you can tell we're moving forward because we're doing everything exactly the same, even though we don't have to, and it doesn't make sense.
Part of that, to me, I think, like, maybe the mindset is like, hey, we're TV ready, guys. All you have to do is put us on a channel. We're ready. And the other part of that is when you said, like, perception's reality, like, people think that X and NWA have a deal. And it's like, no, they don't. Like, they're a verified user. Like, you could go pay, $20 a year and you could be a verified user. And if you get tons of engagement in your content, you could get paid for your videos. Half the people engaging in the NWA's content is talent. And yeah, they've got 60,000 views on X. I don't know what that translates into dollars. If it's $1 for every view, I mean that's great. If it's 50 cents for every view, that's great. But they're probably getting like a penny, if that.
Well, and also is what are you paying for? Like YouTube pays on hours watched, time watched.
Yeah.
So
X pays on engagement.
Right. So, but I don't know how they measure the engagement.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
Is it time watched, people watched, how many unique whatever, and how apparently since like we said, all the employees, contract workers are sharing and plugging and everything like that. We assume that's to get engagement up on it. So I don't really know, and I have a hard time believing it might be paying them better than YouTube did. And trust me, there are plenty of people in the YouTube community who are not happy with YouTube and some of the changes that have gone through and everything. And a lot of them run YouTube and Patreons to try and balance things out. But this isn't anything that's blow away. And I think like you said, and somebody on the Discord said, if we're just we're ready, you can start us with the next show. We can drop YouTube this week and you can start us with the next show, and we got places for commercials and everything. And I don't know. I'm still waiting for the ROH deal to be confirmed.
So ROH deal?
Yeah, they're always ROH is kind of like AEW was for 6.5 months. They're really close, and that's why they had to put the title on Jericho. So I don't know. I'm not missing much in the wrestling world these days without watching anything.
The thing that's upsetting for me about the NWA CW deal is that we know that there was a capable individual that was in talks with the CW to possibly have the same position and deal that NWA has. I'm not sure what all the details were, but I know that David Marquez is more than capable of stepping into that position and putting championship wrestling from Hollywood or whatever they're calling it, and far exceeding what in the hell Billy was able to do with it.
Well, CW didn't want wrestling, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. CW wanted Billy Corgan, and Billy was able to jump on a deal that Marquez was brokering or trying to broker, and say, "Oh, well, we can give you wrestling, but what you really want," because when Billy filmed his Adventures in Carneyland or whatever, there was no platform for it. That was a pilot. That was a pilot to shop out.
Yep.
And so he was able to go, hey, not only can I give you the wrestling show, but I can give you this behind the scenes look at my life. Oh, that's what CW wanted. Well, guess what happened? It flopped. I mean, it 100% flopped. Nobody gave a flying F about Billy Corgan running a wrestling company. And so that flopped. I don't know if the wrestling program did what they were wanting it to do or not, but it was like, we got NXT. We don't really need you guys, and we don't really need your Carney show. So, how about we all just part ways amicably? And I think it was like, yeah,
So
this isn't working.
I have a little bit of insight to the CW deal that Dave Marquez was brokering, and it wasn't the same deal that Billy ended up scoring. And I have my doubts
Well,
that
just real quick, I'm not saying it was the same deal, but I think he knew that was going on. It's like, hey, if you want, I can give you wrestling plus.
so initially before USA decided that they were going to discontinue carrying NXT, um, CW was looking for wrestling content, and what Dave Marquez originally had pitched to them, and I don't think I'm speaking out of line here, and I might have to edit this video later so that you guys don't tell anybody, but they were going to present the show with a belt that looked very similar to this one up here, and it was going to be crowning a new world champion for a CW championship wrestling on the CW. It wasn't going to be necessarily the United Wrestling Network as we know it. I'm sure like they would fill in some of the gaps with that, but it would be wrestlers from around the world competing for this world title. And I still think that's a novel idea, and I would have loved to see where that could have went. But then, once the negotiations with the WWE, when they said that, hey, we're shopping NXT, CW's like, oh, wait a minute, we could get the WWE on our TV? Yeah, that's what we want. And I don't think Billy was ever supposed to be on the CW channel where Marquez's idea, that's where it was being pitched. And I don't think there was any real money on that CW deal. I still think Billy went out of pocket for that entire 8-month run on CW. I think that was still Billy Corgan's, tax refund. I don't think he was getting a CW deal as much as it was a deal to distribute their content, and they probably did some sort of share the advertisement revenue. So I don't know, man. It was a different deal. Just with the NWA, like I feel like that whole deal was botched because not only did you alienate your fans to the north and to the south and anyone not in the U.S., but you alienated a good marketplace on YouTube, and a lot of people stopped watching it because it went to CW, and now that they're on X is such a toxic place for wrestling. Like, despite I don't care about your politics, just wrestling, X is ugly, man. It's such a negative environment on there. And they decide to go all in and let's go balls deep on the negative platform. Let's do that. we could have done something with TikTok. We could have done something with Meta. We could have done something back on YouTube. Hell, we could have gone anywhere video content distribution is available. They could have had their own Twitch channel and at least been making money from live streams, right? No, they go to X, a very toxic place for wrestling fans, and presenting the NWA. I don't get it. I don't get it. I do understand, like, look, they're still releasing matches on YouTube, so they are making some money on the back end with YouTube with just the matches. They have to be making some kind of money on X, but the whole deal just sounds dumb to me. It's like if I was producing a wrestling show, which I'm not, thank God, but if I was producing a wrestling show, I think if I'm concerned about eyeballs, which I think that's what Billy's approach is, he wants to get the most eyeballs on his product, then he should be releasing that on every platform available to him. And left-leaning media, right-leaning media, I don't care. If your goal is to be seen, then you should be putting that product out everywhere. And if the goal is to be compensated, then you should, I don't know, put out a better product. I like what Luthez said. Billy Corgan is not as big a star as he imagines himself to be. The entertainment world outside of music has tried to show him that. Fuck. Zing! Luthez, everybody. James H. Jackson says, I can't wait to see where this United Wrestling Network Saturday Night Slam goes. As somebody who's close to the situation, I'm not going to tell you to hold your breath for anything. I want them to succeed. I'm invested in their success. I just don't know where it's going to go. I know that they're going to be returning to the Irvine Improv for live events. I know that Peter Avalon and Zicky Dice are handling a lot of the booking, so take that as you will. Noob says, have you seen my rant about the intergender match? So I'm going to go look to see what Noob said about the intergender match. I think this is it. To be honest, I'd rather see Natalia Markova in a bigger stage than the NWA. She should have gone to the TNA, AEW. Heck, I don't mind seeing her go to WWE because she's made for TV. Here it is. As much as I'm a fan of Natalia Markova, I'm really losing faith in the NWA and Billy Corgan. I don't care if she's in your music video or in your concert. Just give her the title, Billy. The thing about Markova, and I know I'm just talking to Noob here, but like, this is very convenient to put her in another intergender match. They did that last year too. They put her in an intergender tag team with Brian Idol, and then they even had them get a few runs. Had a run in the Crockett Cup, and they did that very smartly to keep Markova away from the title picture. And the only thing I can suggest is that they're doing that because they don't want to put the belt on her. I mean, DK, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you know how I feel about thinking. Look, there are lots of things that go on behind the scenes that we don't know. But yes, there are lots of things that go on behind the scenes that we don't know. And so I always try to be a little bit careful as to why somebody may or may not be getting a title. Let's remember Markova is in there with Brian Idol. She does, I think, have some influence backstage. I think sometimes they try to keep titles away from people like that in this day and age. Don't always succeed, but I think sometimes they try. There was one thing there that I want people to stop doing, wrestling fans. Well, she should have gone to TNA, should have gone to AEW, should have gone. Not the way it works, people. They got to have interest in you. And if you're wrestling for the NWA right now, it's probably because they don't have interest in you.
No,
and maybe
look at the last woman who left the NWA for AEW. Look how well that worked out for her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are some that were there and they've gone on to make, Tasha Steelz did stuff in TNA. She I think she even helped title there for a while, and she's been a bigger. She made a bigger deal there than she probably would have in the NWA under the circumstances. Thunder Rosa got injured, and ever since she's been back, she hasn't been really that big. I think they're probably kind of getting her back in the title picture again. But they got to have interest. The reason that Camille supposedly ended up in AEW was because everyone was saying Next or NXT was interested in her, and NXT is interested in her, and then they want her, and then all of a sudden they didn't. Supposedly. Well, I don't know if they ever wanted her or if they didn't want her. I don't know what happened with that, but she ended up in AEW. And AEW completely has misused her so far. She's back off TV for now. I don't really see them putting her in a program with Mercedes Moné, who supposedly has creative control. And so, yeah, just stop thinking the wrestler just gets to pick where they want to wrestle. Oh, well, they just need to go do this, or they just need to go to this other. Well, trust me, if the other promotion was interested, though, whenever their contracts come up, they would do it. I don't even know if Mark Copa's in the contract, to be honest with you.
Remember when that we had a woman in the NWA who was revolutionary at the time. Everybody was just falling in love with her. I think her name was Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
And the first opportunity that Tony Khan got to use her on his shows, he did. And so much so that there was some sort of deal worked out between Tony Khan and Billy Corgan, and and she got out of her contract because that's how bad they wanted her. And then they put the world title on her. So it's like, if somebody wanted Markova that bad, they get her. They get her. It's, I don't think Billy's holding anybody back per se. Like, I think by putting him under contract, he's protecting himself. I would do the same thing. I don't fault him for that, but I don't think I don't think that any talent would go to Billy and say, "Hey, man, I need to get out of this contract. I got WWE waiting." I don't think Billy's going to hold him into that contract. And even if he does, they only sign a year-long contract anyways. He just used Jack Cartwheel, who's a WWE ID guy. I don't think that'll be the last time we see Jack Cartwheel in the NWA. We might not see him for a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the NWA another time, not too far down the road. But it's we could sit here all day and badmouth the NWA. There's plenty to talk about. It's been a very challenging year for the brand. It's been a couple of missteps, bad booking. We're mourning the loss of Jack Stane. Like, that guy should have been wrestling for the 10 pounds of gold. Just thinking about compelling storyline. He started off the year as part of the Savages, right? With Blake Bulletproof Troop, a team that should have been formidable, a team that should have been like in the tag team division. I mean, you're talking about a former world tag team champion, a former national champ, two-time national champion, former North American champion, former world champion, and they couldn't even give him a U.S. title run. They put him with Baron von Storm, and again, I don't want to speak ill of either one of them because I have a huge amount of respect for him, but like, why wasn't he being pushed as a serious challenger for the 10 pounds of gold? And I in my mind, I think it would be a fun story, a sweet moment, a nice story. But if they put Tim Storm in a path to challenge for the 10 pounds of gold based on, I'm going to do this for Jax, that doesn't necessarily mean that would have the best results, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Before, actually, they did that with Aaron Stevens.
Yeah,
right? When the question mark passed.
And I love Tim Storm, but we have to realize too that he's a little bit older and not in the best in-ring shape. What are they going to do with him now? Like, I think putting him in a tag team division in a tag team allowed his career to be extended, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep doing that. Who could you replace Jax with? Nobody.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do they let Ricky Morton wrestle still?
We haven't seen Ricky Morton on TV in a long time.
Okay.
Since the Crockett Cup, and he wasn't wrestling; he was just managing.
All right.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Rock and Roll Express are legendary. Tim Storm, I don't think many in the NWA see him the same way they see Ricky and Robert.
Well, I mean, to Noob's point there too, like we all know Noob loves Natalia Markova, but she's 35. I looked it up, and I mean, Thunder Rosa's 38, and I don't know how active she is in AEW anymore, but the injuries never fully recovered or what. But that's getting on, and kind of to DK's point too. Like, you never know with the amount of power someone has backstage. Sometimes those people don't want belts. You think of Tommy Dreamer. Don't put the belt on me. I don't want the title. That was always the story until the end of ECW. So that might be the case. I don't think she's going there. I think if it would have happened, it would have happened by now. But I can remember being out here a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we kind of agree with New. Put the title on her already. Like, she took that spear at 75 and right off the apron through the table that we watched. It was a phenomenal match with Camille, and I mean, it hasn't happened. So,
well, I will say, if she doesn't want to be champion, then they need to start dropping her from title contentions.
Yeah.
It was very bad to make her the number one contender. Give her a 2-minute match that, if it was out long, they got screwed. Give a title challenge to the next person, to the person that interfered and cost her the match. It just, there was a lot about it that didn't make sense. Of course, hey, knowing at least one result from the looks that kill thing, if you want to talk about things that don't make sense, I can't wait to find out the reasoning behind one decision they made. So it's going to be, I have a feeling I'm not going to talk positively about it. And I don't know. It's just, I just can't figure. Now, I will say this. Complaining about the NWA is fun. But again, Discord has taught me that a lot of wrestling fans today, though, they seem to be more into this stupidity than somebody like me is. Just watching some of the recommendations and who they want, who they think should be, like in the tournament and stuff like that. Like I was talking about the one person who wanted Max in the tournament. And they're like, well, I know you're not as big of a fan of Max as I am. And it's like, it's not a matter of being a fan of Max or not. I don't really have anything against Max specifically, other than when Max is challenging for the men's titles. And just don't think that's the right thing. I don't like intergender. Hate this match coming up. And we're talking about Markova versus Hunter.
Yeah.
Was that the one I felt sad for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel sad for Hunter sometimes when I see him. And it's like, who looks good in that match? Who wins and is better off for it?
I don't think anybody. Okay, so she beats Carson, Hunter. If she beats Hunter, does that propel her to another title shot? No. Does it give her a TV title match? No. Does it do anything for her as a women's wrestler? Okay, does that empower her? Sure. Okay, great. She beat a guy. She beat a guy who should be in the junior heavyweight division at best. If she loses, what does it do for her? It's a non-factor for her. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type match. And the same thing for Hunter. If he beats Markova, is that going to propel him to a TV title match? Is that going to give him in the top 10? I wrestled in high school, and the year that I started wrestling, my senior year in high school, that's when a lot of the girls started wrestling in high school wrestling as well. And they didn't have divisions for women yet. So if you were a girl wrestling in high school, you were wrestling against guys. Your same weight class, okay, you're wrestling a guy. I never had to wrestle a girl in high school, but I had friends that did. And you know what happened when they lost to a girl? You lost to a girl? How could you lose to a girl? I know it sounds misogynistic. That's just what happened. But you know what happens if they beat the girl? Oh, big deal! You beat a girl. It's a no-win situation. Nobody benefits from this intergender style of wrestling. I get it if there's a hardcore feud and you're paying this off, and if you have a wrestler who is matched equally in size of whether it be male or female, okay, I can get behind that. But there isn't an intergender division in the NWA. There is no benefit. Again, wins and losses need to matter. This is a stunt. This is stunt casting. It's not benefiting either person here. Unless Markova is planning to switch to the men's division and giving her a victory over a man starts her down the path to start challenging for men's titles. But I don't think that's what they're doing.
I think the crux of it for me is that they can't do anything because if there is no ability in the current standing of the company right now, nor has there been for years now, to do anything with anything that happens in the ring that means something beyond the people who are already watching. So what I mean is, you had the idea of Max the Impaler, which we should be saying they. Too many pronouns, pal. Anyway, they should be saying they because they do wrestle both. And that was unique and interesting. And hey, Rick Del Santos here. Hey, Rick. And unique and interesting and hadn't been done before that I know of, and might, if you had the platform to be able to say, look what we've got. We've got a champion who wrestles in both men and women's divisions and has titles in both, and had eyes from around the wrestling world able to come and go, oh, what's happening over at the NWA? But they didn't have the platform. They don't have the platform now. They haven't had it for a long, long time. It was the same thing, arguably, same problem with with Tyrus. And even then they did have the platform and it still didn't work because that doesn't transfer over either. So unless you have, I'm sure I'm not wording this right, but unless you have the ability to catapult your great idea, your interesting new idea, hey, let's put a belt on a guy who's on a right-wing CNN podcast. Let's put a belt on a gender-neutral person who can wrestle in. Let's put both belts on them and say, hey, look, wrestling world, what have we got? Now let's see if we can get more eyes. It hasn't worked. They don't have anything to launch it up with. And so in the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me because there is nothing that they can do right now has any impact.
Well, and it wasn't original anymore either.
Right, it's done now. Right? Yeah.
Well, but I mean, women have won men's. China held the Intercontinental title in WWE. Medusa held the junior heavyweight title or cruiserweight title, I guess it was called, in WCW. They created a women's championship for Medusa in WCW, and then outsmarted themselves and never put it on her.
Yeah.
That and that's almost Billy thinking right there. And so just not that long ago, Tessa Blanchard held the men's world championship in TNA.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's not the idea of putting a title on a standard men's title on somebody who is gender neutral or whatever you want to call them, but primarily competes in the women's divisions and holds women's titles when they hold titles, and as we pointed out lots of times, Billy seems to do things because it sounds good at the moment, but he has no forethought after. We talked about the women's tag team titles. It's like he created women's tag team titles so they'd have titles to fill in Power, but it's like he had no plans after that.
Well, and Matt came up with it, like he said, it kind of crystallized what I was thinking. The biggest problem that they had with Max wasn't that they had the title; it's that they didn't defend the title. And similarly to Markova, they spent last year, the Crockett Cup, instead of it being a pay-per-view, so one night or two nights, it became a month-long event. And then you did preliminary matches, to build up to the Crockett Cup. So not only did you spend like the TV tapings before the Crockett Cup, but also the TV tapings for 4 weeks, taking them out of the picture. So you had Max the Impaler, who held both television titles, spent 6 weeks of TV concentrating on a tag team tournament when they were the TV champions. So for 6 weeks, they didn't defend the title. And then when they had opportunities to start defending the title again, they had a handful of matches before the return to the territories where they forfeited the women's title to challenge at the 76. And they still held the men's TV title and didn't, and it ended up losing that to Carson Drake, in the fourth match of the best of 7 series when they had that title going back to January. The problem, what DKM is saying is right.
They had 4 title defenses. Max had 4 title defenses, I think, before we got into the Carson Drake storyline. So, like in a 9-month period, they defended the title like 4 times. So even if you take into account Crockett Cup and that was 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however many weeks of whatever, and they were involved in intergender matches, but they still were not defending the title on any regular basis, either one. They defended the women's title up until such a point as they won the men's. But again, I think a lot of this has to do because Billy doesn't have a plan. His 20-year plan that we're currently 7 years into or more, and but there isn't a plan.
Max defended the title. Max won the title January 13th. Max defended against Mims January the 14th. Max's next TV title defense was April 12th. Max's next TV title defense was October 5th. And then again on October 5th because it was part of the TV tapings. And then lost the title on October the 26th. So for, 5 total defenses that happened, 1 in January, 1 in April, and then the rest in October. That doesn't constitute a very promising run as the world champion or as a TV champion. And then as far as the women's champion, if you'll humor me and allow me to go through this, Max won the title from Kenzie Page at 75th, then defeated Ruthie J the next night. That was in August of last year. Defeated Taylor Rising August 28th. Defeated MJ Jenkins August 29th. Took the belt to Finland. Great. Took the belt to Japan. Great. Came back in November. Defeated Chelsea Green. Defeated Nisa Kate. And then that was her last title defense was November 4th, 23 before winning the men's title. And then defended the title one more time in April of 24 against Ella Envy. That was her last title defense. So only one title defense all of 24 as the women's champion.
Oof.
So, yeah, the problem...
and there's only been one other match since then.
No.
Not hers. Just there's been one other women's television title match since then.
Yeah, we haven't seen it since we haven't seen the title since they forfeited the belt to challenge for the women's championship. And so Big Mama wins the title on an NWA Chicago event, defeating Haley J, defeating Natalia Markova, defeating Tiffany Nieves, like heavy hitters for the women's division. And we haven't even seen Big Mama on TV. They didn't use her in Tampa, so she wasn't a part of those TV tapings. They didn't use her apparently at Saul Win. So we haven't seen the TV title on TV since before the 76th anniversary show. We're talking August. And it wasn't even a title defense. Like, it's infuriating.
I guess it shows up for Big Mama shows up for Looks at Kill, from what I understand.
Sure. And we'll see that in January?
No, not January, probably March.
Yeah. And March is still giving them the benefit of the doubt, probably April or fucking May. So,
yeah. So, Matt, I agree with you, and I think we agree with you. It wasn't necessarily the intergenderness or the non-binariness that prevented Max from having a good run with the title. It's the fact that they didn't book them into these title matches. And then Willie Bowen said, "Where is Reka Tahaka?" Reka Tahaka got a nasty injury at the beginning before the Crockett Cup, and we haven't seen her since, and we probably won't see her for a while because it was supposed to be pretty bad.
She had surgery.
And over metal, Matt says Dak Draper should have been the one to dethrone Max before Mims won the Natty. I wouldn't have hated Dak Draper getting that TV title. I mean, I'd have rather seen him with it than Carson Drake. But yeah. Anyway, we're getting long in the tooth, and we haven't really discussed anything of real substance because nothing really to discuss. I mean, we had a pretty decent episode of Power. The production issues aside, like DK said, why are we having commercial breaks when there's no real need for commercials? I mean, they're not. We do get updates on the live events and where we can buy our tickets. We do get Danny Deals with Alyssa trying to sell merch, and no shame on Danny Deals, love that guy. But we had a women's title match that mid-match. Tiffany Nieves, who's normally laser focused with a high intensity, lost focus during the match and attacked a FTW trainee, one of Markova's students. And Billy kept saying how this was a what do you call it? A very smart tactic. And I'm just thinking, like, wait, you're in the match for the title. What's smart about throwing that match? What's smart about getting disqualified? What's smart about losing that match when you're like, if your goal as a wrestler should be to be the best, to be the world champion, why would you take your focus off of that for anything, especially a superior athlete like Tiffany Nieves? It wasn't like scientific. It wasn't smart. It was a dumb move. And that put a bad taste in my mouth because, again, like, it was a pretty decent match leading up to that. And, I'll keep saying it. Kenzie Page definitely is carrying the women's division on her back. There's a lot of stars that could potentially fill her shoes when she decides to drop the title, I guess. But this match could have been so much better if we just had a clean finish. And I know it was building for the pay-per-view and the cage or the signature live event and the cage match, but again, there's no real good reason to keep a title on a talent for a year unless you're trying to really. Essentially, you're telling us there's nobody worthy of beating them, and it wouldn't hurt Tiffany or it wouldn't hurt Kenzie Page if she lost the title and won it back. It wouldn't hurt Kenzie Page to be a 16-time NWA Women's Champion if that's what it took. The fact that she's held the belt for a year just makes it kind of feel like the division just isn't strong enough to take the title off of her.
I love Lou's comment. Why was a trainee sitting front row in bright pink instead of standing by in the back to clean up pie between matches?
Fuck.
Lou had a great one earlier. Someone said, "Hey, where's Camille?" And he wrote catering.
Yeah, and Noob says, I find it weird that Tiffany Nieves didn't get DQ'd. I mean, like, it was within the realm of the match. She didn't cheat. She didn't break any rules. The referee should have maybe counted her out, though. It was weird. She put her finger in the girl's mouth, and I was like, that's not nearly as attractive as I would like it to be. And so yeah, that was a weird exchange. Then we had a tag team match with the Butterflies. I'll be honest, this is a fast forward thing for me. Like, they are a know-nothing, nobody team. They might be big in Tampa. I don't know. I don't live in Tampa. I don't follow the Tampa independent wrestling scene. But they're treated as like nobodies in the NWA. They're enhancement talent. Why are we giving them TV time? I don't know. You've got a core roster of guys who need to be spotlighted to build up a heavyweight division or even the tag titles. Hell, just give me a decent tag team match. All the ancillary noise before this match was stupid. And I literally, I don't fast forward matches very often for the NWA. I did not watch this match. DK, did you watch this match?
You're so funny.
The Beast. What was his name? The Beast Man or some shit like
I
that.
don't give the slightest anything about. Look, this is where I was talking about power schizophrenia. What is it going to be? I have no problem with enhancement matches. Not one small iota. I think enhancement matches are great. That's what helps get people over. Somebody had posted something on Facebook. They have the Freebirds in it with Terry Gordy beating up some nobody who got a little bit uppity in the match. And somebody goes, why are the Freebirds wrestling two enhancement talent? I think they actually use that phrase. It's like, well, because back in the day, that's what you did. On TV, you wrestled enhancement talent because TV was to sell events, house shows, what we call them these days. But it was to sell the events. So you didn't put it for free on TV what you were wanting people to pay for.
Yeah.
And this is what got people over. People won. Every time I watch Brad Armstrong on Georgia Championship Wrestling, he won. So that if they did put him in a match for a TV title or even the national title or whatever, it was semi-believable because, well, he's always winning on TV. And it's like that, that was the purpose. So either make Power your enhancement show, your studio show, where we get to see people win so that we want to see them face each other. And then you have your special events, your signature live events, or whatever the hell you're calling them, your former pay-per-views, and then you can put in some competitive matches. And look, you can even put in a few enhancement things at the bottom. Go watch the original WrestleMania. Some of the early matches were standard, enhancement matches. Go watch some of the Star Wars shows from World Class. Kamala taking on 3 different wrestlers who, didn't have a win between them. But what do we see at the end? Bruiser Brody comes in to make a thing set up for the next Star Wars. I have no problem with it. If you're going to be that, be that. And if you're not going to be that, you need to do something to get your people over instead of just having them lose, and then, oh, here's title shot. Oh, look, they won. Caribbean Flow has challenged for the women's tag team title more times than I can count. And they've won 1 match, and they have 1 draw, and they've lost 5, I think.
Yep.
And I have nothing against the women in it, especially La Rosa Negra. But come on, give me a reason. I was watching Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn was talking on a podcast. I don't remember when it was done, and maybe it was a year or so ago. And he said something. He goes, even as much as everybody knows what's going on, as much as kayfabe is broken, as much as the doors are wide open, as much as the curtain's been pulled, we still want to suspend our disbelief for the 2.5 hours we're watching his show.
Right.
And you can tell it because that's when fans go, why the hell are you doing that? It doesn't matter if it's WWE, AEW, NWA, MLW, TNA, XYZ, EIEIO. It doesn't matter who it is. When the matches start, we want to believe. So come on, people. Give us a reason to. And if you tell well, yes. And if you're good enough in enhancement work, that's when you can move on. I said, go watch. You can find some still on YouTube. You can go see in Georgia Championship Wrestling where Buzz Sawyer was enhancement talent. No, not jobber. There's a difference between a jobber and enhancement talent. But, you know, you could see Buzz Sawyer, you could see Jim Duggan work as enhancement, paying their dues. And you can actually see the switch when, you know, the Andersons, Ole Anderson decides he likes Buzz Sawyer and, you know, and starts working with him. There are things you can do, but, you know, if somebody's enhancement talent, let them serve as enhancement talent for a while until they get used to being in the ring, doing stuff, and can put people over and can be believable. And then that's when you send them to another territory.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all expecting too much for one William Patrick Corgan. I don't know that. Yeah. I think we're at a good place to maybe wrap it up for tonight because number one, I gotta be honest, I'm mentally I'm kind of out of it right now, and you know it's been a long year. You know we've done 46 episodes of the Alliance Guys podcast. We've done close to 50 episodes of the pre-party. You guys have been a great audience to do this for. I appreciate the community that we have built. I appreciate you guys being here with us week in and week out. And now, you know, we've been dominating Tuesday nights for years. We've been dominating Thursday nights for years. And now it looks like Sunday nights will be another place for you guys to hang out, be a part of this community, be a part of this growing community. Tim said something funny before the show went on the air. He goes, I remember when you guys used to get 2,000. We were looking to get, 2,000 subscribers, and now you're at like almost 6. And that is funny to me because this doesn't happen by just me. It's not just Jay uploading videos and talking about the NWA. It's because we have this great community. I see new names coming in the chats all the time. Like, I think McKenzie was here last week, but he's relatively new. There's another Tim in the chat. He's new. You guys are bringing your friends in. You guys are getting behind the product. You're getting behind the podcast, the live stream, and I thank you for it. Starting, when are you guys going live for the first time on January 6th or 5th?
Yeah, the 6th, yeah.
The 5th.
6:30 p.m. Eastern, January 6th. 5th.
And that'll be the first. I guess. I don't know. Maybe we'll be here next week. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to talk to Jaden and see if he wants to come on next week. But so yeah, and then we'll be back to 3 days of Alliance Guys content. And again, that's because of you guys. The Alliance blog, the other Alliance Guys, the pre-party. Coming soon, DK's views, Jaden's conspiracy theories. Got a lot of fun coming in 2025. So, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Before we go, Timmy, you got anything you want to say?
Just excited to be back on Sunday. Jeremy's like the energy for this thing. Jeremy is like, let's fucking go right now. So, and that drives me forward. And just, Scoob's great, and we're all into it, and we're excited. Like Lou says, with his comment there in the chat too. One of the best things for the last couple of years has been hanging out with this group, and I've missed it. Excited to come back. Excited to do something new. Don't have to watch NWA programming to do it, so it's all good.
We still might try to talk you into going to 77, wherever that's going to be this
year.
I'll
go to 77. If there's something worth seeing, I will go. I will hold out. I will end. Yeah, look at the face. He's If there's something worth going, I will end the I don't know what you call it, the blockade against the NWA.
I went to Crockett Cup just to hang out with DK because that was a shit show. Yeah. I was happy. I was happy that the Southern Six won, but the rest of the card, it was brutal.
You loved Eric Smalls versus Slade, didn't you?
I think I went and got a burrito when that match was on. I think I left.
No, I'm the one that left during that match.
Maybe there's a dog pro wrestling event. They don't do shows; they do
They don't
events.
do shows.
There's
That we could all go to.
he's got a lot coming up in 25.
Yeah,
And then we might. Hey, I might be out in Texas later this year for the debut. Whoa! All of a sudden, I became the crocodile hunter. The debut of international wrestling. I blew it. International.
Iconic. I can't even do it. Iconic heroes of wrestling excellence.
Yeah, there it is.
IHWE professional.
I should just have that written right here. I don't know why I don't. I'm kind of a moron sometimes.
Yeah. So, something up there, one that says dog events and one that says IHWE professional wrestling.
And leave the N out of Cahagas. Got it.
Leave the end out of Cahagas.
Jeremy, anything you want to plug before we say goodnight?
Man, I'm just stoked to be back and back to creating content. I take pride in the fact of knowing that the NWA doesn't come close to producing as much content per week as JCal and the Alliance does. And to be able to add to that tally, it just makes my heart sing. Better than Billy Corrigan even. All jokes aside, though, the Alliance was the first group that whenever I finally jumped into social media that welcomed me in and was just a solid all around community as a whole. I've been happy to wave that banner since then and to hop on whenever possible and just talk wrestling and not be bombarded with the typical IWC bullshit that comes along with talking wrestling on the internet. I'll always shit. Fuck. My teeth are falling out. I'll always be thankful for that shit. This community has done more for me than it'll ever realize. And that is priceless for me. And I will wave the banner of the Alliance until I die.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah.
Family.
DK, anything else you want to add before we call it a night, maybe a year?
No.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to support the podcast, please consider buying one of these cool hats or T-shirts that you see we're repping here. We've been selling T-shirts and hats. We have coffee mugs. Yeah, everyone but DK's got one on today, but that's all right. Yeah, see, there it is. And if you're uninterested in having a cool hat or T-shirt, we also have partnered with Dubby. If you are looking for a clean energy that doesn't give you the jitters, I recommend it. It's a shame what happened to those college kids, but I think that was a very secluded bunch. And then of course we've partnered with Trophy Smack. If you're looking,
and they're feeling much better now.
Yeah, I think they're okay now. If you're looking for an award, a genuine award for your company or your fantasy sport. Yeah, I highly recommend checking out Trophy Smacks. Again, we've partnered with them that you can save a little bit of money if you use our promo code, the Alliance Blog, in that. That's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to wish you all, hope you all had a Merry Christmas. I hope, Tim, you had a great Boxing Day. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.